1. Let's talk about this 1976 Ford F-250 Camper Special that's popped up for $5,000. I've got to be straight with you, these 70s Ford trucks are becoming increasingly desirable, and this one's got some interesting points to consider. Let's start with the good stuff. It's packing a 390 big block with an RV cam, which is a solid power plant for these old workhorses. The seller mentions it's a crate engine with about 30,000 miles, plus they've added electronic ignition and a new Holley carb. That's definitely a plus for reliability and performance. The Camper Special package means it came with heavier-duty everything, making it perfect for, well, camping or any serious hauling. At 127,000 miles showing, with a rollover so actual miles unknown, the price point of $5,000 seems reasonable in today's market. It's rocking that classic 70s brown paint, has a clean title, and comes with an automatic transmission, making it an easy driver. Now let's be real here. The seller mentions it needs some TLC, which in classic car speak usually means there's work to be done. Being a 70s Ford truck, you'll want to check the usual suspects: cab corners, rocker panels, and floor pans for rust. These trucks were workhorses, and at 47 years old, it's going to have some battle scars. For $5,000 though, you're getting a piece of American truck history with some decent upgrades. That 390 with the RV cam will give you plenty of pulling power, and parts availability is still excellent for these old Fords. Just budget for some repairs and maintenance, the sellers being upfront about it needing some love. 2. Let's talk about this 1973 Chevy Cheyenne 2500 that's up for grabs at $5,500. I've got to be real with you. These 73 Cheyennes are becoming seriously collectible, and this one's got an interesting story to tell. First off, we're looking at an elderly-owned truck with the original title. That's usually a good sign for maintenance history. Speaking of which, this truck comes with a folder full of maintenance records. Love to see that kind of documentation. The heart of this beast is a rebuilt 350, 5.7L, with only 30,000 miles on the rebuild, which is barely broken in for these bulletproof engines. Now let's be honest about the cosmetics, because transparency is important. The seller's upfront about rust in the front right fender and some paint bubbling in various spots. That's pretty typical for these old CK series trucks, and at least they're being straightforward about it. The truck wears blue paint, which was a great color choice for these Cheyennes. At 188,000 on the odometer, rolled over, the price seems fair considering today's crazy classic truck market. The seller notes it runs and drives excellently, has good tires, and recently received a tune-up and oil change. That's encouraging for anyone looking to drive it regularly. The Cheyenne was Chevy's upscale trim package, so you're getting some nice interior touches compared to the base models. With the automatic transmission and 2WD setup, it's an easy truck to live with. 3. Let's talk about this 1975 Dodge D100 that's popped up for $3,500. And I'm going to be completely straight with you about what we're looking at here. First off, this is a project truck, no sugarcoating it. The seller's honest about listing it in fair condition, and right now it's not running. Turns over, but won't start. That's already telling us this isn't a drive-home purchase, folks. But here's where it gets interesting. It's got the legendary 225 slant 6, paired with a manual 3-speed with granny gear. That's the bulletproof combination these trucks were famous for. Plus, it's got a posy rear end, which is a nice feature. The short bed fleet-side body style is actually quite desirable among collectors. Now here's a major bonus. It comes with an extra rebuilt 360 V8 with a 4-barrel carb. That's a serious upgrade possibility sitting right there, potentially worth a good chunk of the asking price alone. The odometer's broken, showing 100,000, and the seller mentions a few dents in this green machine. Being an old forestry truck, you can bet it's seen its share of work. Look, at $30,500, you're not buying a show truck, you're buying potential. These D100s are getting harder to find, and with both the original slant 6 setup and that spare 360, you've got options. The non-running condition is described as a minor issue, but take that with a grain of salt. You'll want to investigate what's keeping it from firing up. 4. Let's dive into this absolutely gorgeous 1964 Chevy C15 that's listed for $26,000, and let me tell you, this one's special. First off, that Viper blue paint is striking, and the seller states we're looking at an original, undamaged, rust-free body. That's incredibly rare for a nearly 60-year-old truck. The fact that they've added a rear roll pan gives it a clean, custom look without going overboard. Under the hood, you're getting the original 283 CI V8, but it's been tastefully upgraded with an Edelbrock carburetor and headers flowing into a dual exhaust with 4 mufflers. That's a perfect balance of original character with modern performance improvements. The seller has basically gone through this truck from top to bottom. Check out this impressive list of new or rebuilt components: power steering, alternator, starter, radiator, power brakes with a dual master cylinder, A-arms, lowering springs, just a slight drop for the perfect stance, all new suspension and body bushings, drive shaft, and even the original numbered differential. They've even added a modern fuse block and rewired most of the truck. That's huge for reliability and safety. The interior sounds well thought out with complete sound padding. These old trucks can be noisy. And a cleverly integrated digital radio that maintains the stock appearance. Smart touch with that discreet starter cutoff switch for security too. 5. Let's talk about this stunning 1970 Ford F100 Custom that's up for $30,000. And let me tell you, this is one seriously well-restored piece of American history. First off, we're looking at an 85% completed front end and bed-off restoration, taken right down to the frame. The seller's being incredibly transparent here. They've documented the restoration process with photos, and this truck's even got some show awards to its name. That's always reassuring. Let's talk about what makes this one special. It's still running its original 302 Windsor V8, paired with that classic 3-on-the-tree manual transmission, a combination that's getting harder to find in original form. The truck's history is well documented, being a local Portland truck since the 70s, with just 3 owners and original purchase paperwork. That's gold in the classic truck world. The restoration work is extensive: new shocks, coil springs, suspension bushings, and about 95% of the hardware replaced throughout the truck. The body wears Wimbledon white paint, done by Mako NE, with a restored black interior. The seller's honest about the few remaining issues. There's some small spots of rust in the front of the bed, and it needs a rear bumper. The original farm-style bumper was sold. At 90,000 miles and with this level of restoration, the $30,000 asking price, OBO, is actually in line with what these well-restored F100s are bringing these days. You're getting a truck that's been thoroughly gone through, runs and drives great, and comes with a stash of original parts in the seller's garage. 6. Let's talk about this 1969 Chevy C20 that's up for $12,000. And I've got to say, this one's got some real potential. First off, this is a California truck with known history, just 2 owners in the same family, which is already a huge plus. We're looking at an original 350 V8 long bed with that beautiful original patina paint. For those who love that worn-in look, this truck's got character written all over it. Let's be real about what makes this truck special. The seller has done all the important mechanical work to keep it running right. We're talking a professionally installed and tuned new carburetor, fresh ignition components, distributor cap, rotor, points, condenser, wire harness, and spark plugs, new gas tank and float, and brand new tires and battery. They've even done a fluid flush and full lube job. That's the kind of maintenance you want to see. The seller's being completely transparent about the truck's condition. There's a small dent in the grille that's supposedly an easy fix. And yes, the seat has a tear under the current cover. The odometer shows 2008-18 with 1 rollover, but given the family history, at least we know it's been maintained regularly. At $12,000, considering today's classic truck market and all the recent mechanical work, it's actually priced pretty reasonably. You're getting a running, driving piece of American truck history that doesn't need immediate mechanical attention, just cosmetic improvements if you choose to go that route. 7. Let's talk about this 1979 GMC Sierra Grande that's listed for $12,500, and I'll give you the straight scoop on what we're looking at here. This is a classic square-body GMC, packing the reliable 350 V8 paired with a TH400 automatic transmission that's been upgraded with a kit. That's a solid powertrain combination known for its durability. The seller mentions they've put in a new exhaust system, which is always a nice upgrade. Now, let's be honest about the condition, because transparency matters. The seller admits it's got some patina and rust bubbles starting to show. However, they emphasize it's not all hacked up, which suggests it's still presenting fairly well for a 44-year-old truck. The fact that they're upfront about these issues is actually refreshing. Unfortunately, there's no odometer reading provided, which is something you definitely want to ask about. But the seller notes that it runs smooth and strong, which is what you want to hear about these old workhorses. At $12,500, you're in the ballpark for a decent square-body Sierra Grande in today's market, especially if the mechanical aspects are solid. The Grande trim level was GMC's upscale package, so you get some nice additional features over the base models. 8. Let's talk about this 1979 Chevy K5 Blazer Cheyenne that's up for $19,000, and this one's got some interesting modern upgrades that make it stand out. First off, this isn't your typical stock K5. It's rocking an LS 5.3 swap with Holley fuel injection, which is a serious upgrade from the original engine. That combination gives you modern reliability and power, while the TH350 transmission is a proven partner for that setup. The fact that it's got working gauges is actually a big plus, as these old clusters can be problematic. The sellers kept the patina look, which is super popular right now, giving it that authentic vintage vibe while hiding modern muscle underneath. They've modernized the stance with 20-inch wheels, which definitely changes the character from the original look. Whether that's your style or not is personal preference. One major bonus is that this is an AC truck, which is fantastic for comfort. They've also added a pretty serious sound system with sundown subs, an amp, and a full range of speakers for those who like their tunes while cruising. At $19,000, you're getting a K5 that's been modernized in all the right mechanical ways while keeping that classic patina aesthetic. The LS swap alone represents a significant investment, and when done right, it transforms these old Blazers into reliable daily drivers with modern power. 9. Let's talk about this 1977 Chevy K5 that's up for $7,000. And I've got to say, this one's interesting because it's got some features you don't see every day. First off, we're looking at a straight-six powered K5 with a 4-speed manual transmission. That's a less common combination compared to the V8 automatics you usually find. While it won't win any drag races, that inline six is known for being virtually bulletproof and great on fuel for a vehicle of this era. The seller's keeping it straightforward. They've done some recent maintenance, including a new carburetor, battery, and exhaust system. They also mention good tires and a solid floor pan. That last part is crucial because these K5s are notorious for rust issues in the floors. The odometer shows 34,000 miles but has rolled over, so actual mileage is unknown. Wearing yellow paint and sporting that classic removable top design, this K5 represents an increasingly rare find, a relatively stock example that hasn't been heavily modified or beaten to death off-road. The fact that it runs and drives good with the manual transmission is a plus, as these old 4-speeds are generally pretty robust. At $7,000, you're in the entry-level range for a classic K5 Blazer in today's market. This could be perfect for someone who wants a classic 4x4 they can actually use while gradually improving it. The straight-six manual combo might not be for everyone, but for those who appreciate simplicity and reliability, it's got a lot going for it. 10. Let's talk about this 1969 Chevy short bed that's up for $19,000. And I've got to tell you, this one's got some serious potential. What makes this truck special is that it's a numbers-matching short bed, which is becoming increasingly rare to find. The seller has clearly put in the work to make this truck mechanically sound, and I appreciate how detailed they are about what's been done. Let's break down the recent work because it's extensive. They've completely redone the fuel system from tank to carb, which is exactly what you want to see on these old trucks. We're talking new gas tank, fuel pump, all fuel lines, and a rebuilt carburetor. The ignition system got a complete overhaul with new plugs, wires, rotor, cap, coil, and points. The brake system received attention with a new master cylinder and fluid flush. The cosmetic updates are thoughtful too. New door seals, new windshield with rubber seal, fresh wiper blades, and the bench seat has been redone in black houndstooth, which is a classic look. They've even installed original-style black seat belts and a rubber floor mat. With the odometer showing 1017, obviously rolled over, what's really important here is all the preventative maintenance that's been done. Every part mentioned was either new or original, which shows attention to authenticity. At $19,000, you're in the right ballpark for a well-maintained 69 short bed in today's market, especially one with matching numbers. These trucks are only going up in value, and finding one that's had this level of mechanical attention is getting harder. 11. Let's dive into this 1965 Chevy C10 that's listed for $20,000, and I've got to tell you, this one's got that perfect mix of originality and smart upgrades. First off, we're looking at an original 283 V8 paired with that classic 3-on-the-tree manual transmission, a combination that really takes you back to the golden age of American trucks. The seller mentions it runs and drives great, which is exactly what you want to hear about these old workhorses. What makes this truck interesting is how they've upgraded it in all the right places while keeping its soul intact. They've added power steering with tubular front control arms. That's a huge improvement in handling and drivability. The power front disc brake upgrade is another smart safety addition that makes this classic much more practical in modern traffic. The truck's rocking what the seller calls a great patina look, which is super desirable right now in the classic truck market. That natural wear tells the truck's story and saves you from worrying about every little scratch. It's refreshing to hear that the heater and gauges are all working properly. That's not always the case with these old trucks. At $20,000, you're in the ballpark for a well-sorted 65 C10, especially one with these thoughtful upgrades. The fact that it retains its original drivetrain while having modern steering and braking improvements makes it a truck you can actually enjoy driving, rather than just looking at. 12. Let me tell you about this 1965 Chevy C10 that's listed at $29,900. But I've got to be honest, this dealer listing leaves a lot of important questions unanswered. What we can see is that this C10 is painted in a custom teal color, and it's definitely eye-catching. It's equipped with an automatic transmission, which makes it more accessible for daily driving compared to the original 3-on-the-tree manual these often came with. However, here's where I need to be straight with you. The listing is surprisingly light on crucial details. There's no mention of what engine is powering this truck, no information about restoration work or modifications, and no details about mileage or mechanical condition. For a nearly $30,000 asking price, you'd expect a lot more information about what you're getting. The dealer mentions a Carfax is available, but on a 1965 vehicle, that's likely to have limited useful information. They're marketing this as a blend of vintage charm and modern convenience, but without specifics about what modernizations or updates have been made, if any. At $29,900, this is priced at the higher end of the C10 market, which typically suggests either significant restoration work or valuable upgrades, none of which are detailed in this listing. The teal paint looks clean in photos, and the truck appears to be in excellent condition, but you definitely want to get a lot more information before considering this price point. 13. Let's talk about this gorgeous 1970 Chevy C10 that's listed for $20,000, and I've got to say, this one looks like it's been done right. First off, we're looking at a beautifully maintained truck powered by a 350 V8 that's been upgraded with an Edelbrock high-rise manifold and 4-barrel carburetor, a combination that gives you that perfect blend of performance and reliability. The fact that it's got power steering and front disc brakes makes it much more enjoyable to drive in today's traffic. The seller's being quite confident about the condition, and based on the description, it sounds justified. They're claiming a super straight body with near flawless yellow paint and excellent chrome and glass. That's exactly what you want to hear when looking at a classic truck in this price range. At 91,344 miles showing, it's clearly been well preserved. What really catches my attention is how they describe it as reliable and easy to drive, and say you can drive it anywhere. That's important because not all restored classics are actually good drivers. Some are just pretty to look at. The power steering and disc brake upgrades suggest this one was built to be used, not just shown. At $20,000, you're getting into a nicely sorted C10 that appears to need nothing major. These trucks have been steadily climbing in value, and finding one that's already been properly restored and upgraded with sensible modifications can save you a lot of money and headaches in the long run. 14. Let me tell you about this absolutely incredible 1974 Chevy C20 Cheyenne Camper Special that's up for $20,000. And folks, this one's special. First off, this is a one-owner California truck. That's like striking gold in the classic truck world. It's packing its original 400-foot big block V8 with 220 horses, paired with an automatic transmission. Being a camper special means it came with heavy-duty everything from the factory, built to handle serious loads. What makes this truck extraordinary is its preservation. The seller mentions it's had a camper shell its entire life, which has kept the bed in pristine condition. That's rare for a working truck of this era. At 85,503 original miles with those original California blue plates, this is about as authentic as they come. The feature list is impressive. Power steering, power front disc brakes, and most importantly, cold AC. Finding a 74 with working, cold air conditioning is like finding a unicorn. Being a Cheyenne model, it was the top-of-the-line trim level, so you get all the fancy interior touches Chevy offered back then. At $20,000, considering it's a documented one-owner California truck with the big block 454, original miles, and in superb condition, the price is actually quite reasonable in today's market. These camper specials are becoming increasingly sought after, especially ones this well preserved. 15. Let's talk about this 1965 Chevy El Camino that's listed for $25,000, and I've got to say, there's some serious attention to detail here. First off, this is a numbers-matching example with the 283 V8, 195 horsepower, that's just been freshly rebuilt, and they've got the receipts to prove it. That's huge because documentation adds real value to these classics. The fact that they've done a complete fuel system overhaul is impressive. New gas tank, fuel lines, sending unit, fuel pump, and a rebuilt carburetor. That's exactly the kind of thorough work you want to see. The brake system has also gotten a complete overhaul with a new booster, shoes, drums, and wheel cylinders. This kind of comprehensive work suggests someone who really cares about the vehicle's mechanical integrity, not just its looks. The odometer shows 50,246 miles, but has rolled over, which is expected for a 58-year-old vehicle. However, with that freshly rebuilt engine and all the new components, the mileage is less important than the recent work done. At $25,000, considering it's a numbers-matching 65 with a documented fresh rebuild and comprehensive mechanical updates, the price is in line with the current market. These second-generation El Caminos are becoming increasingly collectible, especially ones with documented work and matching numbers. 16. Let me give you the scoop on this 1976 Chevy C20 Scottsdale that's listed for $12,000, but I've got to keep it real with you about this dealer listing. First off, they're advertising it as a Silverado, but in '76 it would have been a C20 Scottsdale. The Silverado name didn't come until later. That's a red flag about the seller's knowledge of these trucks. What we do know, it's a V8-powered C20, the heavy-duty 3/4-ton model, with an automatic transmission and dual fuel tanks. The odometer shows 59,650 miles, which for a '76 could be legitimate or could have rolled over. There's no mention of documentation to verify the mileage. They've added some modern conveniences like a Bluetooth-capable stereo with AUX input, which is a nice touch for daily usability. The chrome bumpers and mirrors are highlighted, and being a non-smoker vehicle is always a plus. Now, here's where I need to be straight with you. This is clearly a dealer listing pushing financing options. which isn't typically how most classic truck deals go down. The no stories claim and must-see excitement, combined with the regardless of most credit situations pitch, feels more like modern used car sales tactics than a classic truck offering. At $12,000, you're in the middle range for these C20s, but without specific details about the engine size, mechanical condition, or restoration history, it's hard to judge if this is a fair price. The photos would be crucial here, as would a thorough inspection of typical square body rust spots. 17. Let me tell you about this incredible 1985 Suburban Silverado that's up for $19,500, and folks, this one's special. First off, this is a documented time capsule with service records dating all the way back to 1985 when it was new. That's incredibly rare. It's a California truck from the original owner in San Jose, which typically means better preservation than trucks from rust-prone areas. The fact that it comes with original keys and owner's manual just adds to its documented history. Under the hood, you've got the reliable 5.7L V8 Goodwrench motor, paired with a 4-speed automatic. What's impressive is that it passes California smog without issues. That's huge for these older vehicles in CA. It's sitting on modern 22-inch American racing wheels, 2012 9 front, 2011 rear, with meaty Toyo tires, but they're including the original rally wheels too. That's perfect for buyers who might want to go back to stock. At 139,800 miles, it's got reasonable mileage for its age, and all power options work, even the clock. The 40-gallon tank and tow hitch make it practical for long trips or hauling. At $19,500, considering the documented history, recent mechanical work, and overall condition, the price is fair in today's market. These square-body Suburbans are becoming increasingly collectible, and finding one with this level of documentation is rare. 18. Let's talk about this 1966 Chevy pickup that's listed for $8,000, and I'm going to keep it real with you about what we're looking at here. The seller's being pretty brief but honest. They're straight up calling it a project truck, which means you should be prepared to put in some work. What we do know is that it's got some recent updates. New tires all around and new windows, which is actually a nice bonus since old truck glass can be expensive to replace. It's running the straight-six engine, likely the reliable 250 or 235, with an automatic transmission. These inline sixes might not be as glamorous as the V8s, but they're known for being bulletproof and easy to work on. The seller mentions it's a real poster, likely meant poster child, and wears black paint. But given it's described as a project, you'll want to inspect the body condition carefully. These 66 C10s are known for rust in the usual spots: cab corners, rocker panels, and floor pans. At $8,000, you're in project truck territory for these first-gen C10s. The price could be reasonable depending on the overall condition and how much work it needs, but you'll definitely want to get a better look at what you're getting into. 19. We're diving into a classic workhorse that's up for grabs on Craigslist, a 1983 Ford F-250. This tough-as-nails pickup is ready to tackle any job you throw its way, and it can be yours for just $5,500. Now let's get real for a moment. The seller mentions that this F-250 needs some minor work, so it's not in perfect condition. But hey, that's to be expected with a truck that's been around for nearly 4 decades. The important thing is that it runs well, and it even passed a smog check last year, so you know it's still got plenty of life left in it. The odometer reads 83,000 miles, but here's the catch. The seller notes that the odometer is broken and has rolled over. So, while we can't be entirely sure of the exact mileage, it's safe to say this truck has seen its fair share of adventures over the years. On the bright side, this F-250 comes with a clean title, so you won't have to worry about any hidden surprises in its history. It's also equipped with a 4-wheel drive system, making it perfect for tackling tough terrain or handling less than ideal weather conditions. And with an automatic transmission, driving this classic is a breeze. The seller also mentions that the truck has good tires, which is always a plus. You won't have to worry about investing in new rubber right away. 20. We've got a real treat for you, a 1984 Chevy K20 that's up for grabs on Craigslist. This beauty is a 3/4-ton 404 with an automatic transmission, and it can be yours for just $9,700 or best offer. Now, let's dive into the details. The seller mentions that this K20 has a rebuilt 350 engine, courtesy of S&J Engines in Spokane. With less than 2,000 miles on the new engine, you can rest assured that this truck has plenty of power and reliability to offer. Plus, with new brakes and new carpet, you'll be riding in comfort and style. The seller is upfront about the condition of the truck, noting that there are a few minor cosmetic issues with the body and paint. However, they also emphasize that the truck runs and drives great, with no mechanical issues whatsoever. That's the kind of honesty we appreciate in a seller. The odometer reads 131,236 miles, but the seller does mention that it has rolled over. While we can't be certain of the exact mileage, it's clear that this K20 has been well maintained throughout its life. One of the standout features of this truck is its gorgeous brown paint color. It's a classic look that never goes out of style, and it's sure to turn heads wherever you go. The seller is also open to partial or full trade offers, so if you've got something to swap, don't hesitate to reach out. And with a clean title in hand, you can buy with confidence knowing that there are no hidden surprises lurking in this truck's history.